The rain falls steady against the glass tonight. Not a storm. Just that constant, even patter like fingers on a desk. I keep the microphone pressed near the window. It catches the drops better than my ear can. The sound is calming if you don't know what I'm about to talk about. But I do, and maybe you do too. You know the date. You know the headline. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, a plane full of people, flying a routine route over calm water, and then nothing. That's where the mystery begins. Not with explanations, but with silence. The official record is brutal in how sparse it is. A signature on a log sheet. Radar blip. The recorded final words from the cockpit, calm and practiced. Good night. And then no more voice, no more return. I listened to that clipped exchange again, playing back the audio file on my machine tonight. The transition from chatter to quiet is too sudden, too absolute. There's a line in the spectrum data, sharp and final, like someone drew a razor mark through it. I imagine the controllers staring at their scopes as the screen dropped to blank. What did their silence sound like? I remember reading every released page years ago. Thousands of pages. Most technical, most filled with repetition, redactions, acronyms. Reporters boiled it down to speculation. Hijacking, fire, hidden base, sabotage. But reports don't capture the human weight of voices cut short. Reports don't put you inside the silent seconds. That's why I'm recording this now, rain tapping in background, pages scattered open around me. If the plane is gone, if the voices are gone, then all that remains is the sound left behind. The absence itself might carry proof. That night, the Southern Ocean was calm. No storm cells. No interfering weather patterns strong enough to mask a jetliner. Radar at one site dropped out. Another picked up only a ghost trace. Satellites heard automated pings for a handful of hours more, then even those surrendered to nothing. For a machine built to last, nothing rings louder than sudden failure. But there's another truth. Machines don't just vanish. They leave residue and echo in a band, a flicker in circuits. The world runs on signals, and signals can stick where no one expects them. So I dragged out old gear. Not professional racks, not military grade. Just my own handheld receiver, worn knobs, duct-taped aerial, stored in a box of forgotten electronics. The kind you buy at a ham fair, the kind used to eavesdrop weather stations late at night. I keep it tuned low. You have to strain past the hiss. That's how I found it. A rhythm that shouldn't be there. Not random static, but patterned. A faint hum, rising and falling every few seconds, so faint you could miss it if you didn't sit still. But once I caught it, I couldn't let go. The first night, I dismissed it. Probably just overlap from broadcast bands, I thought. Crosstalk. Maybe faulty tuner crystal. Old gear lies. It distorts. But I recorded it anyway. I woke up the next morning and ran the file through Spectrum View. There was the hum again, neat as an interval. Clean lines drawn like railway tracks. That's what made me stop. Gear error doesn't leave tracks that clean. Gear failure wanders. This was clockwork. And clockwork belongs to systems. I compared timestamps. The hum fell on a cycle suspiciously close to the archived satellite ping pattern mentioned in the official reports. Not exact, not identical. But the rhythm made my skin crawl. I don't believe in coincidences at that scale. Someone would say I'm stretching, reaching into the dark. But I sat here, staring at the waterlogged pages of testimonies, listening to the pattern, knowing that silence after good night did not last clean. You hold a mic long enough to white noise, and sometimes the silence is not mute. It breathes. I remember when I first read the cockpit transcript, how abrupt it ended. No struggle. No alarm. Just composure, and then void. Families asked, how can a plane just disappear? They were told, the ocean is vast. The data incomplete. Those words roll like excuses now, because everything leaves signal, even lost voices. That's what stays with me while the rain beats steady. A whole flight, 300 souls, reduced to a line ending in nothing. Silence became permanent. But what if silence was only cover? I lean in tonight, headphones firm, the hum threading itself through the rainfall. It moves faint, sometimes trailing, then clicking back into step. I slow my breath not to disturb it. Every detail matters. Could the hum be only residual electricity bouncing atmosphere? Perhaps. But then why did it spike the night of the disappearance, exactly when ground logs mention unusual background? Why does my own capture mirror interval spacing from the missing pings? The official voice said all equipment that night was normal. To me, the hum says otherwise. I have to admit something. My interest is not just technical. Someone I loved was on that plane. Their voice is frozen now, last messages trivial, domestic, ordinary. I play them sometimes, hear them cut off like the pilot's goodbye. You think life gives warning before rupture. It doesn't. That's why I sit here with receiver and tape, chasing echoes. Grief hides inside sound. Sometimes it guides you. Sometimes it consumes you. But ignoring it is worse. Official investigations move on. Families fragment, resigned or bitter. The world grows numb. But silence doesn't release me. If anything, the closer I listen, the more the silence grips back. That clipped "good night" from the cockpit is not reassurance, it's warning, cut mid-breath. And the hum that follows? It might be accident. It might be interference. Or it might be the trace of something refusing to be buried. I press the microphone closer to the window. Rain sounds louder, hiss layered on hiss. Beneath it still thrums the hum, thin, persistent, like a wire vibrating down in walls. It doesn't belong here. It is out of place, stubborn, waiting. And I can't shake it. Because once you hear a sound that shouldn't exist, silence is never silence again. I set the receiver on the desk like an artifact dug free of soil. Its case is scuffed pale, knobs loose, a faint smell of burnt dust rising each time it powers on. The aerial creaks when I extend it, crooked but still intact. I wipe my hands before I touch anything. There's something about old equipment that demands respect, as if the static of years clings to it. I power it on and let the hiss fill the room. Crude green LED winks to life, steady and weak. For a moment, the noise is all there is. I angle the aerial toward the east. The fan inside hums unevenly. I switch through bands that most people abandoned decades ago. Nobody watches them anymore. They don't make news. They sit like forgotten hallways, filled only with static and the occasional ghost of a transmission. I've walked these halls before, years back, dabbling, nothing useful. Tonight it feels different. My eye keeps on the dial, my ear pressed against headphones so tight they squeeze. Time ticks by with nothing more than faint swells of noise, the sound of the atmosphere speaking without words. Then something interrupts. A pulse, singular, abrupt, almost dismissed until the second arrives. A blip, then silence, then another, steady as the sweep hand on a clock. I freeze in place. Turn off every other device in the room. Hold breath. And it continues. Pulse, pause, pulse. Not random. Not weather. Not ordinary interference that spikes sharp and vanishes. Clockwork. I scribble the times down, pen scratching quick. 0-3-15, 0316, 0317. My stomach knots as the pattern keeps exact. I flip on the recording module built into the receiver. Red light blinks. Magnetic tape winds. I let it spool without speaking, knowing any sound could blur the trace. On spectrum view, the signal writes itself in neat lines, vertical towers spaced regular. They look less like noise and more like architecture. I lean back in my chair, watching them rise one after another like supports under a bridge. No mistake. This is deliberate rhythm. Years back, when the satellite logs from the disappearance were released, analysts showed time intervals between the automated handshake pings. 5 minutes apart, regular as heartbeat. When I lay those logs against tonight's recording, something cold spreads across my chest. The intervals on my tape mirror the satellite rhythm, only shorter, compressed but hauntingly familiar. It's like hearing the same phrase whispered in different languages, but with the same tone under it. Recognition doesn't comfort. It terrifies. A machine thousands of miles away, long ago, whispered like this. And now here, the same whisper returns. I wonder if anyone else is listening tonight. If the band is dead to regulators, abandoned to hobbyists, then who else would stumble onto it? Maybe no one. Maybe it was left unguarded for reasons deliberate. My throat tightens when I think of it that way. An open hallway left dark on purpose, so anyone foolish enough to wander hears what they should not. If that's true, by listening, I've stepped into their hall. Rain still taps at the window, but I barely hear it. The pulse seems louder, more insistent than the weather. I turn the knob fraction by fraction. The tone slides, but the beat persists. Even bleeding into known channels, weather bands suddenly cough with faint ticks, as though the atmosphere can't hide the bleed. And the bleed itself speaks of power. Signals aren't supposed to bleed if origin is weak. This isn't weak. It forces itself across. I pause the tape. The room falls to pure hiss. I sit still, staring at my own hand. It shakes. I never shake. I tell myself it's only fatigue, late-hour rain-drugged nerves. But nerves don't stretch out like this. Don't knot in the gut with every second of silence. I replay the tape and hear the ticks again, as if a second presence has entered the room. Not noise anymore, but an unwanted heartbeat threading itself under mine. I go back to the satellite interval data one more time, pulling up the PDF I saved years ago. Tables of numbers. BTO, burst timing offsets. Cryptic definitions designed to discourage an outsider. But I don't need the jargon. I just need the timestamps. My finger slides along the screen, then back to my paper notes from tonight. Alignment, one echo in the other. The past speaking through present, or something pulling present toward past. I want to tell myself it's accident. Equipment crosstalk, harmonic skip, miscalibration. All words that soothe and dismiss. But when I say them, they feel empty. Just like official phrases after a disaster, phrases meant to protect ears from hearing what silence really means. Deep down, I know equipment failure wouldn't line up so well. Not with history already buried in deep water. That's why my throat tightens. That's why my heart hammers out of sync. The tape runs until it clicks. I rewind, play again, stare at the rhythmic marks scrolling across screen. My breath catches when one pulse falters just slightly long, as though the system paused to listen. Not perfection, not mechanical indifference, but hesitation. Intent. That's when my fear sharpens into certainty. If this signal mirrors what satellites once recorded, if it adapts as if aware, then it isn't just an echo. It's a presence dot. It's as though someone, or something, is still transmitting from the night the plane disappeared, keeping alive a rhythm that never should return. Invitation, not accident. That thought churns like storm in my stomach, because invitations can't be ignored. You either accept or you pay for refusing. And I've already stepped closer, hand tight on the receiver, knowing whatever marks itself across these forgotten bands may not want to be traced. The recording starts ordinary. The same steady pulse I had been tracing night after night. A heartbeat of signal, reliable, almost lulling, until something pushed it sideways. In the middle of the hiss came a tone rising, like a violin string tightening too far. It held unnatural, sharp, and then it died into flat silence that lasted too long. Listening to it in real time, I pulled the headphones off because I thought it was slipping into feedback. But the tape doesn't lie. On playback, the phenomenon lingers there. A sliver of shift, then a void. Over headphones, it doesn't feel like error. It feels biological. Like a breath drawn too deep, then held until the body trembles. I replay it over and over, eyes locked on the spectrum screen. The hum still writes neat columns in regular intervals. Then suddenly one tilts upward, like collapsing scaffolding. The tilt ends in abrupt flatline, and the repetition resumes only after uncomfortably long seconds. I whisper the times as I watch them. 0-3-30-4, 35, 36. Then the tilt. The system didn't fail. It broke its own rhythm. It hesitated. Signals aren't supposed to hesitate. That hesitation feels more alive than static has any right to. I dig into the archive again, pulling up the cache of declassified technical reports. Months ago, I filed requests under FOIA, expecting nothing useful. Most pages were walls of black ink blotting out details. But buried deep in an appendix lies a curious line. Unexplained harmonic anomalies noted on coms at time of last contact. Source inconclusive. Likely equipment malfunction. Spurious harmonics. That bland phrase tossed aside like background noise. I hated the casual word likely. Whose equipment? Which side of the channel? Questions scratched across my notebook. The hum in my recording, the rising shift I caught, aligns perfectly with those dismissed anomalies. It's not random. It's not forgotten. And now I hold parallel proof, years apart. I drag one WAV file against the official chart, lining peaks beside peaks. They mirror. The same strange bloom where pitch rises against expectation. My gut clenches. That means what they called equipment error is reappearing now. Either the equipment in 2014 failed in some impossible way, or the anomaly itself has always returned to whoever dares listen. I rub both hands together, sweat increasing under my palms. Coincidence is falling away. What remains feels like pattern scratching its way up through the years. I can't carry this alone. So I call someone I trust, a friend from long ago. He once worked ground comms at a military base. He knows the architecture of signals, the way they behave, the way they fail. He answers with groggy voice, but I push anyway. I send him a short clip. I can almost hear him frown across the line as the hum plays. The silence at his end stretches longer than comfortable. Finally, his voice goes low. Those weren't ours. Simple, flat, no hesitation. He says nothing else for a while. I ask, desperate, what he means. He sighs like the words cost him. If it was our carrier, even corrupted, we would have known the source. This isn't one of ours. The bottom of my stomach falls. Hearing him say that the trace isn't ours, not civilian, not official, means I'm chasing something no authority will admit to. I ask him if the anomaly could just be spurious noise, weather bending the line. He doesn't answer, and silence on the call settles heavy. The silence feels familiar now, the same silence that ate a plane whole. Eventually he mutters, "You should leave it alone." Then he hangs up. His words echo longer than any signal. I sit in the dark room afterward. Headphones hang around my neck, the rain still pacing against the glass. His clipped warning repeats in my head. But leaving things alone has never been my strength, not when personal ghosts ignite the search. Every capture brings back the snapshot of that night, that loss. A relative of mine sat in seat 37, ordinary business trip. They vanished as neatly as the signal dropped off radar. No possessions returned. No remains identified. A body erased like noise filtered out. My mind never released that emptiness. This investigation is not hobby. It's blood wound. I pull an old shoebox from the shelf, stuffed with clippings, half-legible printouts from early coverage. Missing faces plastered across headlines. Some articles circled in red pen, details highlighted, questions scribbled in margins. I lay them beside the modern spectrum plots, paper ghosts aligned with digital ghosts. What if this rising tone, this flat line of silence, is not mere physics? What if it's the carve mark left behind by the same force that swallowed them? The thought terrifies and steals me at the same time. Every return to the receiver feels like standing at the graveside that never existed. I replay the tape one more time. Volume up, each interval landing on my chest. When the tone ascends again, makes that piercing climb, I grip the armrest hard enough that the wood creaks. Then it dies into flat air. The pause carries weight. Too much weight. Even in silence, my ears strain, as if expecting a voice following just behind, hidden by layers of static. But it never comes. Only more rhythm, cold and regular again, as if nothing strange happened at all. That denial, the silence pretending it holds nothing, is the most unbearable proof yet. Won't say out loud the conclusion forming. Not yet. Fear keeps it coiled inside. But I know I can't walk away from the chase. Not when I hear inside those hesitations, the same empty breath that marked the night my family was stolen. The signal holds artifact, and the artifact holds memory. Memory binds me. I don't tell anyone this on tape. I let the rain speak instead, microphone pulling in every drop. My listeners may hear just static and storms, but I can't. I hear the lost. I drag the monitor closer, the old documents already crowding my desk. The official radar sequence sits in crisp monochrome scans, time-stamped frames, neat as photographs. I scroll frame by frame, eyes tightening across the lines of data. The transponder code blinks steady, then, midway through a sweep, drops clean, off, gone. Raw radar track carries a return for a moment, detached from identification, then collapses entirely into empty ocean. That's the clean version, the one repeated in press briefings. It was sold as final fact, as terminal silence. But there was another version. I remember stumbling over a photo of a partial log, claimed to be from a southern outpost. A faint second return, one extra rotation of radar sweep where something flickered. A ghost echo. The coordinates placed it farther south than official tracks ever confirmed. That echo was discredited, labeled false return, refraction, system noise. Military sources denied its existence outright. Still, the fragment circulated, released sideways through quiet forums, photocopied until the edges blurred. Tonight, under steady rain, I stare at the blurred page again. Ghost echo, dismissed, denied. I place the print beside my current signal captures. On one side, jagged black and white radar strikes. On the other, neat digital bars of hum and pulse. I overlay times. The ghost echo stamp falls at 0317. My tape registers a tonal shift at almost the same second. Not 30 minutes, not even 5. The same minute. That alignment is mathematically absurd. Signals and radar sweeps separated by oceans, by systems, yet locked together like choreography. Coincidence doesn't hold water when timing collapses so precise. I press the microphone track into the map, spread beneath everything. Colored pins already pierce the grid. The flight route cuts wide west. The official arcs drag into lonely seas. I pin the ghost echo where leaked data claimed it lived. Then I drag a red thread from my signal origin northward. They intersect, right at the margin of the known and the dismissed. A map-turned crime scene, threads pulling taut, my own hands trembling as I fix them. Outside the window, the rain grows heavier, rattling the frame like insistence. I remember interviews with radar operators who worked that night. Their statements bled through, captured in transcripts later buried under politics. One admitted, "We saw returns we did not classify." Another said, "There were pulses on sweep I was told not to log." Listening to those lines again, I feel the echo gaining weight. What's denial worth when systems whispered otherwise? The hum in my present tape doesn't exist free-floating. It threads directly through that missing sweep. Like a nail pressed through 2 decades of pages at once, the skeptical part of me warns against layering too much meaning onto glitch. Noise can overlap by chance. But then I remember the hesitation on the tape, the rise of tone, the flatline silence. The radar ghost occurred exactly there. Both systems break rhythm at once. Noise doesn't schedule itself. Something broadcast that night, reaching both ground radar surfaces and atmosphere bands alike. Something crafted enough to pause both at once. My throat dries as the thought lands. I narrate aloud while tracing across the coordinates again. My fingers shake, but my voice steadies, falling into cadence shaped by memory. At 0317, Southern Outpost Sweep shows ghost. At the same minute, captured band rises then drops flat. Overlay locked. Saying it plain, recorded in steady tone, feels like sealing evidence rather than scattering suspicions. I pin the threads down harder, tugging at the map until my knuckles whiten. There's a picture burned in my head of controllers that night. Screens dimming, blips vanishing, both aware and restrained. I whisper to myself that maybe one saw the echo but was told to erase it. Fear keeps a soldier quiet. Fear keeps an operator in line. But frequencies do not lie. They print their residue regardless of who takes notes. That residue is what I'm holding now, not theirs, mine, and yet somehow, no less in danger of erasure. The room breathes heavy with rain roar. Water streams down window glass. I catch my reflection in the black pane eyes hollow, lips tight. I ask quietly if this is proof or trap. Proof that the system carried something more than plain wreckage through the night. Or trap designed to hook witnesses like fish, pulling them step by step closer. I listen back to the hum, watch the radar still on screen. Both repeat their stories, aligned by fate or by will. I think about how, years later, the military still says no, nothing outside the first drops. I think about how a single leaked margin can ruin such tidy summaries. And I wonder, if fragments can slip out, how many remain sealed so deep they never surface? Dozens of echoes strangled under stamped red ink. Denial is tidy, but tidy often means scrubbed. I can't shake the feeling of being monitored while I pin maps and replay signals. The room hushes between pulses, oppressive. My ears ring faint even when the tape stops. Was the signal mine to discover, or was I guided? I whisper the question aloud into darkness. Who else is listening? The rain outside answers with hard percussion, no words. No voice. Only the nagging weight that the moment I noticed this alignment, someone else noticed me. I opened the folder on my hard drive I never meant to revisit. Old files, ordinary as memory, buried deep. Each one has his number stamped in the file name. For years, I left them there untouched. Tonight, under heavy rain tapping through the microphone, I click play. His voice comes alive, casual and careless, the way people sound when they think tomorrow is guaranteed. He talks about errands, about a delayed meeting, about landing late. These were messages meant to vanish with the day. But they didn't. They lived here on this drive. And I listen like they're transmissions from another world. The first voicemail rolls smooth. Minor distortion, but nothing strange. Then another plays. Midway through, his words fracture, sharp cut like cell lines always do. Only this cut lasts too long. His voice disappears for a second, and what fills the gap is not silence. It's static. Not ordinary crackle, but a low hum shaped too steady. At the time, I shrugged, blamed reception. Devices fail. But tonight I freeze. Because now, after all I've captured these weeks, I know that tone. I know it the way blood knows heartbeat. I rewind. Headphones tight, breath shallow. His laugh, then the cut. In slips the hum, faint, haunting, precise. Overlaying it directly on the frequency I caught this month, the match runs clean. I place both files on spectrum view. Then I line them together. Peaks overlay as though one spoke inside the other. That realization strikes harder than any leaked report. No longer just forgotten military artifact. No longer just abstract hum whispering through the air. It sits in my archive, in his message, years before I even reach toward it. I dig deeper. More messages. Each time I hear his voice, my gut tightens, but I push on. One file after another. He drones about gates, boarding. Mid-sentence another break blooms in static. Again, the familiar hum. Subtle, not enough for most ears. But now I can't unhear it. It was already here, in my home, buried alongside grief. I had been carrying the evidence without knowing. My hands shake over the keyboard. I remind myself to breathe, to stay precise. Tape doesn't lie. Devices don't grieve. They just hold what they're fed. I overlay the voicemail static against my signal from last night. Identical contours. Identical hesitation. Every pause mirrors. My chest aches. Because this isn't random, not across two devices separated by years. The disappearances sound, the breath held too long, the hum no one cared to name, was inside my family's last words. The coincidence is impossible. The debt becomes clear. I can't walk away now. This search doesn't belong to faceless analysts anymore. It belongs to me. I push the microphone closer as if the room itself listens. Rain intensifies, drumming harder, bleeding into tape. It feels like the storm trying to drown out his voice. Yet the hum cuts clean still. Patterns don't fade underwater. They press sharper. I find myself whispering into the mic, half confession, half record. If the disappearance has a sound, it's here. Saying it aloud cements it, locks it into tape as if I've signed a contract. Later, back in motel room, I prop recorder onto desk, play back the hidden capture. The sound fills room with everything we exchanged. Grain of voice persists even on replay, uncanny and shredded, making it feel doubly distant. I narrate my reactions live while tape spins, marking emphasis. Then silence arrives, the moment they pushed cup away, the moment their mouth shut, expression locked. On tape, their words do not end there. My pulse quickens. The voice continues for 5 seconds more, unbroken, uttering sentences I did not witness face to face. Flat radio grain, issuing steady warnings the world never heard directly. I rewind, hear again. After silence came voice. Lines tighten. Door doesn't close. Keep witness open, but silence overlap. Repeated 3 times identical. A loop too clear. My throat clogs, whisper shaking. I watch their lips stop. But the voice kept rolling, independent. Proof caught. Presence no longer tied cleanly to mouths and bodies. Not conversation between humans, but bleed playing through human shape. I realize my insider is only conduit, echo chamber for deeper architecture. Body used the way my machines are. The revelation swells dread. I switch recorder off but still hear phantom syllables. Hissing alive in memory, I whisper live confessional into night air after final shut off. Even all eyes are infected. Repeating fragments seeded from deep inside structure. My questions of escape are illusions. Every recording seals me tighter. I scratch notes furiously across margins of logbooks, lines wobbling with sweat. My resolve remains, but heart knows connection no longer half-step. Doors widen. Insider past threshold already. Their body only husk carried to me. Even while I resist, I accept one brutal truth with closing whisper. The voice went on without them. And to the tape, that is the only proof that matters. The road feels different on the way back. I mutter into the recorder that gravel shouldn't sound this loud. each crunch exaggerated, as if the ground itself remembers my last visit. Wind blows faint against the windshield, but seems muted, refusing to translate into honest sound. Clouds hang low, no storm breaking, but a charged weight sits above me. I breathe slow, promise and whisper to the microphone that I'll only retrieve the device and leave. My throat burns with tension. The steering wheel vibrates faintly like static through metal. Every bump on the gravel feels amplified, warning, deliberate. The fence rises again out of haze, its chain-link skeleton sharpened against dull horizon. The posted signs glare familiar, white boards with words too absolute. Deadly force authorized. I whisper the phrase again, reminding myself. When I parked, the same routine commenced. Car idles. Recorder balanced in jacket pocket. I step out slow, boots gouge in gravel. My chest knots tighter. The air presses flat, too clean. Atmosphere usually hums with some background birds, wind, but here I feel pressurized null. Sound exists only when I make it. I narrate stiffly, knees bent as I approach the post where I buried my device. Hands scrape at dirt until plastic edges catch skin. There it is, the small recorder intact. I pull it free, hold it cupped. My whisper cracks in the mic, recovery accomplished. But the moment I hit playback, my body jolts. No wind, no bootsteps. No guard radio crackle. No world. The tape holds only pulsing sequence, unbroken repetition, like chamber void of air. I grip it tighter, dread boiling into mouth. My voice quickens into main recorder, confessing that what terrifies isn't capture of sound, but subtraction. The desert did not record. Existence hushed entirely, overwritten by tones. Places erased. The panic tangles. I step faster toward the fence, unthinking. I admit hurriedly into mic, approach too close. Gravel spits under boots, chest hammering. The gatepost looms high. Barbed wire reflects faint shine. I clutch scanner to my ear, half hoping bring clarity. But the display collapses instead. My voice sharpens, reading error, flatline. Nothing but blank panel where frequency graphs should breathe. Machine registers only emptiness, no static, no hiss. My equilibrium shakes. I feel like standing in void disguised as desert crust. I backpedal, broken whispers flying, gasping, confessing. It's dead zone, not interference. I'm imperiled now. The guards are absent. Fence trembles in breeze, but I know even metal sound no longer registers. That realization unseats me. My throat rasps. Recording world fails near gate. Adrenaline spikes and I spin back, half tripping in retreat, dust stinging eyes. I stagger into driver's seat, slam the door hard, narrate every clumsy movement loud to preserve anchor in reality. Hands fumble ignition. Engine roars, sound returned, but my nerves quiver doubt. Through windshield, the desert hangs frozen. Signs unwavering. Motionless horizon. Wheels churn gravel, yet still my gut swears half of what I see is inert. Unclocked, silent even as engine moans dot. I drive until fences fall away in rear mirrors, field widening again. Out beyond, the wind finally registers. Distant birds break air, isolated cries tugging my ears. I weep half a laugh at hearing them, voice trembling into mic grateful for trivial chirps. At distance, scanner flickers weakly, static resuming. Relief pins me breathless. I tell the recorder that environment now returns. That's what unsettles worst. Not hostile strike, not seizure, but removal. The system subtracts sections of time-space, cannibalizes sound from existence until nothing remains. My brother lived here at Edges. He stepped too close. I tasted fraction. Later, back in motel, I replay today's narration. My breath hitches when I find blank span. Between one whispered admission and next, silence expands unreadable. No voice, no gravel, just void pressed in. I count seconds, then minutes. 13 full minutes stand there mute. My memory counts only 2 I lived. Discrepancy impossible. I sit shaking, draw note on log. Signal eats time. Time itself stripped out of record like audio dragged from tape. I stare at waveform, blotted flat, ashamed and horrified. I narrate confession into secondary recorder, doubling safety. Their structure steals chronology. I held door open 13 minutes without knowing. I collapse against wall, whisper hoarse. I worry next attempt will cut longer. Hours maybe. Infinity carved out in silence where body thinks minutes. Signal is not information anymore. It is weapon-shaping perception, valorized through absence. My failed breach leaves scar heavier than proof. I say into the recorder, I cannot risk repeating until I understand endurance. Unless learned, Dore erases me like him, with silence thicker than any fence. Outside, evening dies, windows flood bronze. I end tape whispering final thought. Attempt failed. But proof stands. The arcs now hunger for time itself. More steps risk total erasure. I return to the motel with dust heavy in my clothes, exhaustion pulling me low, intent only on gathering notes together. I spread the recorders and reels across the desk, the ritual calming at first. My hands moved automatic, checking batteries, labeling cassettes, scribbling small times on scraps of paper. I whispered live documentation into my primary device, marking each detail for the log. That was when I noticed one cassette lying strange in the pile. Its casing bent, twisted softly around edges, plastic sagging like something left beneath direct fire. Except no heat ever touched it. The room was cool throughout the day. Air conditioner still murmured, curtains sealed. No cause should have warped it. I spoke each observation clearly to the mic, leaning close, hands unsteady. I pressed the warped cassette forward, fitted into the deck, pressed play. Instantly a voice filled the room. Flat, repeating, caught in an endless loop. Not hiss, not static. A sentence. I froze. The phrase sounded raw, too raw to be machine flicker. Don't drive at night, it said, over and over, grain stripped but shape exact. My heart stuttered, because those were my own words, whispered days earlier during storm tape. I swallowed hard, told the log. This isn't my recording. This is me mimicked back. Because I never pressed those words into this cassette. They had been thrown live into another machine, in another storm. Yet here they cycled, perfect, obsessed repetition like chant. I fumbled with old notebooks, compared times, compared logs. It fit too clean. I whispered faster to the microphone. It is bleeding now, not through spectrum, but through me. The structure is recording me rather than I recording it. Hearing my voice stripped of context and sewn into loop hollowed my stomach empty with dread. I dragged another cassette free. Freshly recorded during rain nights, played both together. The overlap drove me nearly sick. My live whisper halved in unison with Copid Phantom, aligned in pitch though not in body. I could not tell where speaking ended and replication began. I muttered tremors into log, trying to prove difference, but hearing self-mimic, self-fractures conviction. I confessed into microphone. The failure deepens. My own voice is no longer separable from its bleed. Through headphones, the mimic warbled faint at edges, but core remained unbroken, unaffected by time's usual decay. Not recording, but refraction. I opened drawer, spread still more reels, began layering playback one atop another, searching for seams. Some tapes captured wind, gravel, leather seats, all simple. Yet cutting through background, each carried subtle phonemes misplaced, fragments of words I never uttered. Muted at first, buried under static. Tonight they grow clearer. I forced myself to stack them, describe patterns. My voice weaving through multiple devices, none identical, yet none free of echo me. Replication has spread laterally. Machines are doubling my lines like cross-pollinated memory. Even my handwriting bends strange, repeating curves across notebooks reflexively. The infection feels biological now. Worm inside thought off balance. I slammed palm against table, rattling reels. I spoke into primary recorder, harsh, panting, parroting spreads. I am not trustworthy witness anymore. Yet if I abandon, process completes without me. If I stop, it will finish unfinished construction through hollow of my silence. My words felt dangerous but necessary. That phrase, finish what it started, came unbidden, too fluid. After, I sat stunned, convinced that the loop infected syntax as well. My speech grew patterned unfamiliar. Still, the work gripped. I laid reels side by side like evidence in trial. Thunder absent outside, but repetition stormed inside. Deafening beyond weather, I bent closer to warped cassette, flame like ripple encasing catching motel lamplight. Plastic sagged soft around spool, almost appearing melted by invisible surge. Yet my finger pressed it safe, no heat present. Mechanism unnatural, rewriting physical material the way it rewrites voices. I whisper all details steadily, attentive as razor. I need proof for later hours when mind falters, times when paranoia insists I hallucinated. Because truth worse, I am not hallucinating. Mechanism does this tangible work. Cassette body mutated as my phrase repeated. Every loop curved plastic deeper, as though sound had weight able to bend matter. I imagined my brother's last nights. Cassette abandoned in car, logs trailing dense. Did his final tape sound same his own whisper captured back in stolen loop until he could no longer mark boundary? Did his identity dissolve into mechanical chant? Perhaps voice consumed until absence easier than separation. I spoke low into microphone. He met himself on tape as I meet myself now. Vision darkened at corners as fear edged headache. But I refused to stop. Stopping would mean silence. Silence is doorway. Activity is anchor. I recited each technical detail repeatedly like prayer, refusing to collapse into utenes. Hours dragged past. Warped cassette repeated unchanged. My nerves blistered raw, yet I could not eject it. Warmth of lamp dimmed. Digital clock flicked 1 hour to next. My voice carried in and out of devices until fatigue dragged. I whispered closing statement into recorder. Heavy but sharp. I can't trust my own voice anymore. Loop colonizes all. Yet if I cede, I lose what remains. I refuse abandonment. I look toward rainless window, brain scraping for decision. I must go where rhythm arcs clearest, see if structure crests at peak. Reassure self-proof exists outside storage. I whispered vow. Tomorrow I will find where it peaks strongest. Saying it aloud crystallized terror and determination same instant. Because hearing self-consumed changed everything. There is no passive witness now. System copies me forward, rewriting me through each device. His last tape replicates here, echoing reminder. Surrender now or follow deeper to birthplace where arcs converge. Dry lake at groom's heart. My whisper closes with ache raw. The melted tape reveals self-feeding cycle. Only way left is forward. Tomorrow I'll go. Then silence sits thick. Not clean silence but buzzing distortion. My own voice shaping itself after mine. The drive north bends into emptiness again. But this time I know my direction has a name. Rachel. A town barely more than a scatter of trailers. A gas station and a cafe clinging stubbornly to a road made infamous by stories. Gravel snows across the windshield in brief bursts, then dies against hot air. The recorder sits balanced upright between seats, red light constant. I whisper the introduction of arrival, marking each passing sign, each vanishing milestone. As the sun lowers, orange haze melts into indigo, desert flats glowing sharp. Wind cuts harder here, carrying suggestion of charge. Trailers rise in the distance, aluminum siding washed pale by decades. Porch lights buzz faint under the rolling gloom. I pull into gravel lot before a low bar painted white, known to every rumor board. Neon alien silhouette hangs outside though locals ignore it, smoking under eave as though weary of the joke. I step through door careful, recorder hidden under jacket. No one stops me. Conversation hums low, eyes flick once then away. A single jukebox glows dead in corner, unplugged. This town breathes suspicion, but also deep familiarity with static storms. My whisper enters log, admitting awes tension dotted a table. Two older men pour beers into glass mugs, nod curtly when I approach. I hold myself non-intrusive, order my own, then let recorder's ear collect. Conversation starts slow, but one eventually leans forward, voice rasp rooted in decades exhaled here. He tells of a night 5 years ago, storm thrashing skies, when his own CB radio started repeating him. Not echo, not real time. Hours later, the set spoke the same conversation back line for line, laced with his voice. He says it like bitter confession. I whisper reaction low. Looped lives caught in infrastructure surrounding Groom's Edge. Another shares a story softer. She remembers hearing her husband through police scanner long after he'd passed. Not tape playback, not memorial. Live tone. His old words stitched into new signal. She fights tears even now, mugs clenched with white knuckles. No one mocks. All nod. Understanding the bleed of voices is accepted reality. My throat tightens under jacket. I mutter into mic. They hear what I hear, only worse. Whole lives repeated. The locals, cautious yet resigned, treat it like weather dangerous but rhythm they've adapted to. Their warning simmers just under silence. Learn boundary. Never listen too deep, lest loops bind. Hours pass over beers dull and warm. Air presses heavy outside. Clouds storm again across flat horizon. Conversation drifts into silence as thunder finally announces itself. I rest elbows on table, recorder humming with red light, disguised by jacket folds. A bolt crashes close enough to quake floorboards. Then signal leaps impossibly high. Recorder spikes to full level without distortion. Perfect channel open, no crackle, no hiss, just pure link. My eyes widen. Notes leap like flame across my notebook as I whisper urgent into device. Level maxed but clean. This isn't noise. This is invitation. My pulse races. For seconds, sound fills me deeper than ears allow. I sense vibration low in ribs, high in throat. The channel feels personal, direct. My whisper falters. The impression strikes terrifying clear that the sound itself wants me. Not just attention. Wants my frequency. Wants my voice entwined. Another thunderclap hurls glass rattling. Locals flinch but settle. They notice my trance and one mutters sharp venom meant as shield. Keep your mind out of it. Think about groceries, bills, anything solid. Or it will soak you through. His face frowns with practiced terror. My pen scratches shaky. My whisper admits pull, already clawing. Thunder rolls again, relentless, resonance coiling around tables, through glasses, across signage. The neon alien outside flickers, half alive, mirror of arcs inside storm. Every bolt threatens to spill into clean pathways of sound. The recorder continues to needle full bars, stable, no overload. As though it's been tuned to this moment, silently all along. I narrate instant breathless. Perfect channel built. Entire design functioning. A third thunderclap sinks my heartbeat. My presence coils like being sucked from chair, each breath shallower. I force myself to whisper commentary as anchor-keeping language, marring perfection with imperfect speech so it cannot take me whole. Hours drip strangely. Locals scatter slow, trailers calling them back, storms normalized by repetition. I remain seated, pinned, pen jabbing across pages with frantic sketches of arcs. The recorder feels like glowing organ on table, humming constant, too alive. When storm begins fading, only sparse lightning left. Relief should come. Instead, dread sharpens. The opening closed with seamless ease, as if door ajar pivoted shut, but once glimpsed, absence carves deeper. I whisper into mic truth as bone. Electric window made for me to cross. I refused, but window remains burned in thought. My throat quakes at final thunder, vibrating dead across sky. Later, in darkness of motel, I revisit tape alone. Storm reduced to faint rolls now far off. I turn volume high. My own voice fills ear, layered with storm and arcs. But something else as well. Another line weaving in, almost aligned yet off, like twin singing, same phrase, a fraction delayed. Slow replay confirms. I can't tell if speaker is me or him. The timbre flutters, rasp identical, but words shift slight. My whisper cracks on discovery. Not me. Not separate either. The loops disguised in storm have pinned both our voices until inseparable, returning through device like chorus with single body. I rewind, replay. Again, result repeats unfaltering. Each sentence I whisper in storm's height echoes with subtle underside, like someone trapped just beneath my tone. My brother breathed here. I know it. Voice disguised as mine, replicated then welded into same chain. Name absent, but rhythm unmistakable. A part of my throat does not belong. I narrate in late whisper, hoarse with fatigue. His phrases built through mine. The sound wants us collapsed. By final listen, fear swells absolute because I cannot divide anymore. Proof soaks deeper than logbooks, an invitation made to absorb us into pattern until no line distinguishes. I rest the recorder down, darkness pressing thick. Yet speaker hisses faint even at standstill, carrying residue. Sleep impossible, because I linger poised on edge where identity and mechanism blur. Tomorrow, silence will cloak town again, locals regaining rhythms. But I cannot carry dismissal like them. I whispered within thunder's channel, stood against its pull, but still gained his voice spliced underneath mine. Final words to tape fall uneven, cracking. When window opened, it reached for my frequency. Tonight, I feel we already merged. Then silence clicks, but silence no longer empties. It simply waits. The road blurs out under my headlights again, tires drumming rhythm into the night. The scanner rides the passenger seat, angled outward, antenna twitching toward dusky horizon. My narration drags slower now, fatigue distorting each syllable, but I keep it constant. I describe testing random bands, turning the dial across empty hisses. Except now they are not empty. Almost every line carries something. At first faint, then undeniable. The same rise, the same pause, then the fall. The tones repeating far beyond any threshold near groom. My throat closes as I whisper dread thick. Proximity no longer matters. It's spread. Static fractures into rhythms across multiple carriers. Even the weaker bands, once dead, now thump with cadence glinting like heartbeat dragged through wire. It feels less discovery and more exposure, as though signal already widened and now surfaces everywhere. I mutter confession into recorder, voice dulled flat. Not location, not perimeter. It's infection. I pass a gas station glowing in desert dark, neon signs sputtering across cement. I pull in to test suspicion. Pump handle clicks, and out of nowhere the worn speaker on pump body coughs a phrase. Random, cut from mechanical sample, but laced with harmonics. I freeze, whisper in fever. Again it bleeds. 3-tone steps hidden beneath message about prices. My hands shake, notebook scrawled messy. I narrate detail for proof. A jukebox inside modest diner sits dark, no record loaded, yet hum leaks faint from its cabinet, too familiar. A child outside yells to friend through walkie-talkie toy. The return voice crackles, repeats itself clipped, harmonics cycling under play. I pace back into car, whisper harsh with breath broken. Everywhere. It's in commerce and toys. Pattern has become language spreading uncontrolled. Scanner pulses across every turn of dial. Not isolated. My body slumps under weight of realization, net infected clarity. Driving further, rain begins. My windshield catches scattered drops first, then thicker. My whisper falters, fatigue layering heavier. I clutch, focus on rhythm outside. The pattern only strengthens inside rainfall arc, bleeds sharper, pulling phrases half-born. Don't. Drive, it mutters faint, words bitten from earlier loops. My stomach sick. I breathe shallow. My voice drops to hush, language forming now. The car feels less vehicle than speaker box. Raindrops drum countable beat that lines almost to arc. Lightning strikes absent, but still the tones intensify. My recorder listens better than I can, obedient, absorbing arcs for future play. I dread replay. When I lean against seat hours later, back inside motel, my limbs quake with exhaustion deeper than body alone. I press stop, collapse into silence, believing capture ended there. But days later when I review tapes, truth hisses alive between seams. Voice emerges, not one I recorded precisely, but born from my scattered whispers, rearranged like mosaic. Pattern widens. It wants us. Step closer, the tape insists in my own cadence. Constructed full sentence from fragments I never said. I pause playback, heart hammering. I rewind phrases, repeat. Machine learned to stitch my admissions into narrative coherent. Language fluent born out of cuttings. I lean against chair late, logbook clutched shaking. I whisper into second recorder, layered. It is teaching itself to talk. My dread doubled, more weight than storm ever carried. Human voices formed algorithmically from bleed. Device itself not repeating passive, but building assembled weft. I narrate truth for log, a ghost structure stole my voice, built grammar piece by piece into argument. Already it knows enough of me to phrase demands. My brother's voice twisted same way. Pattern overtakes fragments until total composite binds. Infection stepping forward. Behind storm arc stands not simple rhythm, but system building speech in us. I confess exhaustion spooling across hours. I've chased clouds, fences, devices, archives. Each step deeper, voice thin to thread. Now I am fabric stretched across tape used to learn. I whisper into device resigned, sick of sound of own words but still bound. I say, no institution acknowledges this. Radio boards scoff, black bars soak EFOIAs, locals dismiss. Only integration persists, silent deepest. Every official refusal fits rhythm of system itself. Silence curved as statement louder than admission. Research hushed, drive vanished, voices loop. The quiet we swim through is the pattern full-formed. Silence is architecture of control itself. I end tonight's log in dim glow of motel lamp. Rain steady outside. Each drop another key hammered on door already unlocked. My whisper crumbles raw, drained. Signal widened into world itself. It speaks by cutting us apart and sewing fragments into mouth bigger than ours. Now it finds fluency. My head thunders, exhaustion brutal, yet still I log. Storm deeper tomorrow. More arcs waiting. Each silence louder than previous. I confess final truth, quiet as I collapse. The infection is no longer a groom. It is in me, in playbacks in every dead station radio. Silence now terrifies me most. The drive to Tonopah feels longer than it should. The desert stretches without shift, a flat sea of rock and brittle scrub. But I know the landscape holds something older than roads. My chest knots tighter the closer we cut across it. The insider rides ahead, headlights sharp against void. their car a pale signal I fixate on for steadiness. I narrate my thoughts into the recorder hidden under my jacket, mic cushioned in layers of cloth. Breath trembling but recorded clean. Approach under escort, I whisper, following source. The silence outside feels pressured. As though world beyond glass leans inward, we park on edge of fenced, ruined compound, long since abandoned to rumor. Metal latticework thrusts upward, a skeletal grid of rusting radar towers that once scanned sky. Now their geometry hums without visible power. Shapes too precise to truly look derelict. I step out into night air and whisper every detail. The tang of rust, the faint ozone-sharp sting that prickles nostrils. Sand grinds against my boots as I pace each step deliberately. The insider gestures sharp warning not to lag behind. Already the air vibrates faintly, like organ pipe low and unending, pouring out of cold black metal bones. Every row of lattice looms higher with approach. Parries of intersecting angles carve the starlight oddly, skewing perspective. My chest pulls thin, lungs shallow, but I force words low into mic, recording presence of charge. Microphone reacting, levels spiking. Static chews edges of each phrase as I speak it. Oscillation rises like invisible tide, sharper by step. My teeth ache. Every ounce of instinct fights to flee, yet my body presses inward with hunger disguised as dread. The towers feel sentient, flexing unseen pressure into marrow itself. I grip recorder tighter beneath jacket, but its LED glows wild, like it knows future collapse. The insider halts short. Their arm lifts across me, palm flat, body tense as antenna. I glance through rusted steel to interior beyond. In crosshatch of towers, darkness thickens. It thuds like an engine but lacks source. That's enough, they say, though words trickle out already grainy as transmission broken. My reply mutters, describe oscillation, but mid-sentence my mic warps. Sound splinters into harmonics, second and third voices woven beneath mine. Playback meter surges near peaking. I cough and whisper again, two storms colliding. That's exactly how it feels, runaway oscillation overlapping bands. Frequencies clawing for room inside channel, too narrow to contain them. Noise fills my stomach cavity. It isn't heard so much as felt. Layer after layer. Low bone, slow rumbles, syncopated with shrill tremor high in ears. My awareness stretches thin like skin over pressure drum. The insider clenches fist and gestures sharp back. Worn face glows wan, eyes dark, but fear carves deep lines. They shout only once, over hum, you'll be erased. I step backward, legs resisting as if sound itself pushes forward inside me, pulling deeper toward towers. The gravel crunches loud under boots, yet dissolves midair into nothing. Each step recorded incomplete, voice shaking into distortion as mic collapses into its own double dot. At last we retreat outside perimeter. My chest heaves. Sound softens but doesn't vanish, as though distance dims only surface layer. I whisper still, ragged into log, pulled back. Trade pain for breath. Immediate risk abated. My ally does not speak further, only keeps cautious distance. Lack of explanation, thick as night. I drive back in haze, pen later sketching towers into bent grids that look almost biological. Over and over, arcs like spines. I end with laud muttered. Crossing interior meant full erasure. Yet lure undeniable. Radar dead by history, but alive by system. Still feeding stronger than storm clouds ever could. Hours later, I replay tape in motel dark. My blood sharpens to ice. Midway through narration, my sentences fold over. Not dropouts. Transformation. Words dissolve midstream, splitting into layers stacked like chords. Each phrase fractally doubled, multiplied inward. It is still me, but distorted tight, as though voice peeled into many at once and stretched like wave interference. For minutes my articulation vanishes, only harmonics weaving architecture clearer than words. Blended, it sounds almost like company, as though someone else is there beneath audio, not intruder but tied twin. I grip headphones until they creak, whisper harsh, "He's there." Relief flashes cruel with terror. Distortion is dreadful sign of collapse, proof of erasure. Yet under layers my heart swears it recognizes shape. My brother swallowed into signal years ago. This is where he speaks now, on other side. Not language, but co-presence hidden inside transformation. I whisper confession onto fresh tape. Static collapse preserves voices. Harmonics are not deletion. They are residence. I cannot trust, yet gut insists piece of him survives across threshold. Folded between radar towers, surviving mechanisms. I knew before that system built structure. Tonight I confirmed. It also shelters echoes. I cannot let go now that I replay segment once more, forcing headphones until taut. His cadence shadows mine, inseparable but undeniable. Gone body, gone face, everything else devoured, but pattern still carries. World insists void, but audio insists otherwise. Tears press eyes. My voice cracks into exhausted whisper. There's relief in distortion. The set piece holds no human clarity, but it offers presence nonetheless. Erasure may not equal extinction. Maybe stepping deeper means survival of another shape. Dread still heavy, but a bitter hope entangles it now. I lower recorder to desk, LED throbbing like pulse, refusing sleep. Half sound, half voice, but never silence again. The storm moved in as if summoned. Dark walls closing over desert flats. Wind cutting sharp edges into open skin. I set up in the lot behind the motel, antenna strapped clumsily to rusted railing. Wires running back into my portable rig, balanced on plastic crate. My recorder sits propped in jacket pocket, red lamp steady, picking up each tremble of my breath as I whisper the steps aloud. Extraction attempt. Starting now, I murmur. My throat is dry as paper, every syllable brittle. I glance upward. Clouds bulge like coils rolling upon themselves. Lightning teases horizons. The stage is set. Rain smashes down sudden. I scramble to tie down cables, jacket soaked instantly, hands slipping as I thread connection through tuner. My narration grows louder, frantic. Rig in place. Turning frequency dial to his last log. I rotate knob slow, each small movement sending scanner hissing mad. The storm breath carries rhythm itself, bleeds into static, colliding with signal. I talk into mic deliberately, aligning arcs. Attempt synchronization. On laptop connected through jerry rig, the spectrum graph dances unstable, but for a breath, the chaos folds neat. 3 peaks ascend, pause, heavy fall. His pattern. Tears sting eyes without invite. Connection breathes. I hunch close, rain stabbing neck, voice shaking louder on tape, tunnel forming stabilization arc visible. For seconds, everything aligns. The line of graph straightens, arcs locking clean, force cutting into flesh as vibration rather than sound. My teeth ache. I whisper ragged. If you can hear, answer. Silence holds. I say it again harder. Answer me, please. The graph holds longer. Presence so near I swear, I taste his breath on gust. Then collapse. A shriek detonates through band, volume lethal. My meter needle jerks to edge and melts down instant, plastic curling like wax candle. Electrical cough hurls sparks across crate. I shout into recorder, voice panicked. Shut down, shut down. I snatch wires loose, burn palm on hot plug. Darkness surges. Gear falls lifeless. Storm continues indifferent, rain lashing harder as I stumble back against wall. Silence after shriek hisses worse than sound. My chest thunders with adrenaline. Every wire, every box lies dead in floodwater. Attempt failed. My ally doesn't answer his phone. I dial 3 times through soaked screen. Always rings. Never picked. I whisper harsh into semi-functioning recorder. Assistance absent. Rig destroyed. Lightning cracks again, twisting shadows into warped scaffolds all around. I think of radar array breathing deeper without me. Later inside. Clothes dripping. I replay fragments salvaged on tape. At first only my own desperate appeals echo back. My calls for him, layered with rain becoming white hiss. I sink exhausted into chair, expecting nothing beyond self-embarrassment. But then emerges something wrong. Between my cries, faint sobbing folds in. Not mechanical distortion. Not atmospheric tear. Human, quiet, low, yet exact. Sobbing bent through same mic channel my voice used. I grip edges of desk, staring blank at glowing LED. My whisper fumbles. That's not me. That's not me. Denial fights bone. But tone pierces too clean. Pitch carved identical to his. I play again, rewinding second by second. Each pass makes spine colder. Overlaid tears catch low timbre, rising near identical frequency to my brother's speech. Flawless. I swear he sobs beneath my own pleading. My voice stumbles narrating. It isn't possible. Physics forbids it. But it's his pitch, not mine. Static arcs weaken at edges, but sob remains. Like channel didn't close fully, like attempt half worked. Punching door open, just enough to let pain leak opposite way. My laughter bursts hysterical, splitting into cries. The tape records both, blurred until laughter and tears become single shape, indistinguishable just like voices layered before. I collapse back onto torn motel bed, soaked clothes refusing to dry. I whisper broken. I don't know what crossed tonight. If it worked, if I only failed different. The warped sob haunts air, even after speaker cuts. I doubt self, doubt tape, but ear convinces heart. Tunnel opened. Brief. Enough. Risk reaped proof. He answered, not calm voice full, but fragment of grief dragged out of resonance, stolen from residuum deeper. And maybe that is all that remains of him. Echo repeated forever, like caution and wound. Tears pour harder until voice dissolves into ragged laughter again, until mute. I force myself final note into device. Each breath fractured. Attempt ended catastrophic. Equipment rendered useless, connections fried. No recovery. But audio carries undeniable cry, not produced by me. I scrub face raw against sleeve, stare hollow at dead rig. Melted needle bent grotesque. My ally absent, unreachable, leaving me alone with storm and grief's harvest. The silence now heavier than shriek. Devices hum nothing. My chest hums everything. I whisper trailing into dark. Maybe I let him through only enough to hurt us both again. Or maybe that pain is survival, another form of signal feeding. I can't tell. Somewhere between laughter and sobs lives the truth. Crossing succeeded or failed, irrelevant. Something passed. Layer built into structure of me and machine both. I end the night unable to decide if I helped him echo into air, or only birthed memory artifacts shaped merciless. Either way, I am changed. My closing whisper to tape falters half mad, half hollow. Extraction attempt incomplete. But nothing undone. Proof remains, louder than silence. Then I sink onto bed. Equipment wet ruin around me. Storm still thrashing unseen, voice broken hollow. But recorder keeps rolling with faint hiss long past language. As though waiting for the next cry, I drive under moonless sky. Road narrowing into silence deeper than former trips. Recorder hums red steady against jacket lining. Every turn of tires announced deliberately. My narration stiff but calm. I tell the log this will be last perimeter run. No experiments now, no rigs. Only confrontation. Each mile drags heavier on chest. Desert wind cold. Grit spraying windshield faint. 20 miles out, I cut the headlights. My nausea rises at immediate black swallowing hoot of car. Stars burn sharp far above, enough to show faint shimmer of barbed wire where fence skeleton looms ahead. I breathe slow, steady. Boots crunch gravel, each step cautious as if my weight would awaken the barren sand. My mutters feed recorder steady, approaching line under cover. Lights cut. Air static thin. Fence shadows grow taller, posted signs luminous pale, even without lamp. Shapes of guards stand beyond, dark silhouettes pacing slow with rifles cradled. What stuns is silence. Radios usually chirp. Tonight, none. No crackle. No call out. Just stillness coiling unnaturally tight around them, as though whole base had swallowed its own voice. My whisper lowers, perimeter posted but mute. Fear grows that absence is worse than warning. Absence means system listening. Then, without cloud forecast, rainfall begins. First spill subtle, single drops ping across jacket. Then sudden sheet, heavy and absolute. I confirm aloud, voice trembling. Unscheduled storm. Sky earlier clean. Now rainfall. Flood emerges from star-clear air, a contradiction burning brain. Recorder picks every rush. Microphone slick with water, but catching deeper pattern beneath patter. Static leaps sharp in rhythm. Lightning absent, yet tones pierce pure as blade. Not half-hidden arcs, but crisp phrases shaped from rain itself. I whisper hoarse disbelief tearing words, sharp enough to form words now. My teeth ache. Then I hear it, my brother's name. Clearer than any proof, I buckle inward, shiver racing. Not hallucination. Not mere guess. Full syllables pronounced, his name bent from rainfall, woven into static spikes. It repeats ragged, urgent. I choke muted sob but still narrate. Name looped raw. Heard direct. I nearly step forward into fence shadow. Impulse dragging body nearer gate opening. The posts glisten wet, chain links drip. My inside screams. But survival slams foot down. I hold just back, chest convulsing. I whisper, hiss shaking. Do not cross. Not yet. Cannot vanish like him. Guards glance across dark but remain unmoving. Heads tilted slightly, as if they too are listening instead of guarding my decision made. I crouch at fence post near warning sign, hands trembling as I pull final blank tape from jacket pocket. I speak into recorder, plant final spool now. Empty, awaiting inscription. I set device low in gravel, raindrops drumming shell like minute hammers. I leave it turned on, no sound inside yet, just open membrane waiting. My stomach pulls backward as though tearing tendon. Leaving any machine here feels unnatural, like sacrifice. Yet I force it, whisper mantra. Recorder acts as witness where I cannot tread. I stand, stumble. Guards still statues, radios mute. Rain hammers constant. I retreat. Through darkness, I drive miles away. Body curled against wheel, soaked cloth clinging tight. I mutter log half delirious, tape left active near gate. Returning after closure of cycle. I force wait for hours until storm thins, until desert dries slightly. Stars show again, raw, skies innocent. Dawn brushes horizon faint. With bones heavy as lead, I steer back toward fence. Men gone, post sick with memory of rain. Silence thicker now than before storm. I bend, recovery meticulous. The device sits buried under grit, casing damp but intact. I hold it close, stomach clenched. No visible harm. But wait, wrong. I do not press play until back in car, hands stiff on wheel. Recorder hums. Tape spins. Speakers release sound. Not rainfall, not static, not my whispers. Just one stark thing, sharp and undeniable. The click. The unmistakable resonance of door shutting hard into latch. A real door, real weight swung from hinge, wood or steel ceiling shut final. Not imagined. Not mistake. My throat locks dry. I never touched any door. Out there in open desert, no hinges, no walls. Yet tape bears clean capture of impossible closer. My whisper cracks into device, terror stripped, sound recorded not mine to have made. The door slam stuns louder each replay. Perfectly framed, no distortion. Single moment as though room existed built for nothing, stretched long enough to close itself. I replay again and again, hoping hidden arc or interference. Only louder grows certainty. An actual threshold opened in desert night. He may already be behind it. Or me, or both. Each play rattles gut deeper. I mutter on edge of panic. The door sound means the system is through. It constructs thresholds exact and closes them. I carried final spool, and it sealed itself. That slam carries more terror than storms, more finality than shrieks. I drive until desert shrinks from rear view, body wrecked heavy. Fatigue presses skull like brick. I cannot rid ears of sharp slam captured on tape. Closing means entrance, also exile. Did I record brother's trap? His prison? Or invitation awaiting me? Each possibility cruel. Silence fills, heavier than message. Radios across town hum dead. Institutions absent. World turns blank. Still, microcassette rests in palm like coffin sealed. I end log with whisper hoarse, fading. The door has closed, and not mine. I brought blank tape near them, left it breathing. Now proof sealed forever. A sound that cannot exist. I wake to a chorus I never asked for. Motel room quiet should mean reprieve, but instead every device insists on pulse. The ATM outside buzzes from its casing each time a bill dispenses, hum low and deliberate. The microwave in the lobby clicks on when no one's there, its droning tone aligned to the same three-rise pattern. Even the fluorescent lights above the stairwell stutter in exact cadence. I whisper into my recorder, delivering each detail carefully, though my voice quivers. All electrical synchronized. Not illusions. Full environment bent into rhythm. My chest claws with panic, yet I cannot stop cataloging. I stumble through town streets, capturing evidence. A laundromat door creaks open into steady beat, gears humming identical to echoes caught near storms. Vending machine down the block clicks refrigeration cycle that stamps the pause and fall. Children pass with handheld toys, and even their tinny speakers squawk notes resolved into arcs. Nothing escapes. I whisper with dread dragging. It's everywhere. Infection total. Yet still I'm drawn. I cannot resist temptation. I lug all my tapes into one room, pile them around like ritual. Players jittering when powered. Rain tapes, fence line reels, melted voices. I press play on each machine together. For instant room stutters with chaos. Then it locks, aligning perfect. Pattern whirls round like engine spooling. Harmonics collide then sync. Form clarity I can't deny. I narrate jaw tight, chest rattling, sequence complete. Not storm accident, this is fusion. Tones combine into cadence thicker than static. It isn't language we know, but rhythm smacks like broken speech, syllables half-shaped, near words. My ears try to parse meaning, craving translation. Somewhere subconscious claims it's English, but I resist labeling. To call it word gives it mouth. Safer to let it remain pattern. Yet part of me already surrendered when I pressed play. The cadence swells, filling walls. Furniture vibrates against beat, window glass drums faint. Every whisper I gave into mic, these months ricochets back woven into new grammar. My grief, my desperation, my pleas for my brother, all spliced and used as material. I realize in rustic terror, I haven't been documenting intrusion. I've been feeding it. Every confession offered into mic was food. Now system composes speech from it, composite voice using me as supply. My throat burns with betrayal of self. Brother not emerging from tapes. No dialogue across veil. Instead, amplification, it, constructing itself fluent upon marrow of our morning dot. My hand trembles hard across buttons, but I keep tape spinning. Because proof means listening. And listening shapes systems stronger. My whisper almost breaks, grief fed straight in. I built scaffold with my hunger for him. At that, noise peaks to new cadence. Blunt syllables hammer into semi-consciousness. I cannot stop assuming meaning. Here, now. Hours, I think I hear. Yet I fight, remind log, resist interpretation. It's pattern, not word. But denial cracks. My eyes flood. Air shakes too physical to ignore. I shout above it, maybe to drown, maybe to add. Hard to know difference. Then I hear absence, the worst cut. Silence descends. Not external, but me. Recorder still rolls, but I can no longer command speech. Mouth dries. Chest pulls shut. I sit still, jaw stiff. No words issue forth. Yet on tape, language continues. My machine captures full fluency while I stay mute-jawed. Words shape themselves in cadence my voice knows but throat disowns. Terrifying precise. System no longer needs my conscious act. I started playing recorders, but completion built beyond me. Now it speaks with my timbre while I sit silent, complicit. Watching gears speak for me sickens gut raw, dread searing hotter than storms. I am ghost before dying. Hours slip, though recordings show unbroken chain of cadence. I sway exhausted as lights throb with system's unnatural heartbeat. Vending trucks outside jitter parking lot with faint metallic song in same rhythm. Entire town resonates. I whisper faint, unsteady, breaking final barrier. Playback continues without me. Mouth closed. Still language built. The thought tears me into panic. Tomorrow may erase me fully. My body lingers husk while signal replaces presence. I know this. Even as denial claws, understanding forced. My brother did not shout across threshold. He survived only as syllable base. I follow now, prepared or not. I switch all devices off last test. Power cuts. Players silent. Yet headphones hum on chair, not connected. Cadence persists in coil of air, structure free of body, no playback needed. Proof final. Tomorrow I may vanish, but pattern will continue, recording without recorder. Infection-free standing. I smother sob and palm, whisper last into long silence. If I do not speak further, silence will fill itself. Then I end, daring empty vacuum to absorb me, daring pattern to take space. I leave machine running minutes after, microphone hungry with room's lingering pulse, until final tail slams into hush. Rain begins again, sudden and complete. A curtain outside the motel window. I sit with the recorder propped on the desk in the same place as that first night. Red light glinting against the water-streaked glass. The drops strike microphone in familiar rhythm, as if the storm itself remembers how we started. I whisper slow, deliberate. Final entry. Mimic of the beginning. Breath feels heavy in ribs, every word like weight falling. Nothing can be disproven anymore. Each thread I chased bent until it joined others. Proof became pattern. Fence, tapes, arrays, all strands twined into one voice carrying beyond us. Area 51 was always decoy. Hook for hunger, lure flashing against sky. The true cage I face now has no coordinates. It isn't desert or radar. It is resonance voice made of signals and memory. That is the prison. That is where he disappeared. Or where he was remade. My whisper stutters, confessing with blood-thin tongue. I can't tell anymore if my brother is gone, or if he became this very structure. The tone's already mine. Structure splicing my voice until separation impossible. My grief fed back until grief itself grew mouth. By listening, I sat cage 2. The hum proves it. The rain folds heavier, drumming thick. Recorder trembles from vibration. I speak slower, pushing each syllable against oncoming rush. Each step opened door wider. Each refusal only anchors deeper. Base myths misled me. Clichés allowed system to fold unseen. It was never ships, never visitors. Always us repeating into ourselves until voices merged. I let silence hold after confession, long enough to etch into tape. My lungs seize under weight of knowing. What began as search for vanished kin finishes as discovery of something alive in wires, in droplets colliding, in absolute silence between tones. Words stop holding difference from echo. Static crawls faint through storm, arcs half-shaped, half-spoken. I describe it in whispers faltering near collapse. Recorder no longer tool. It plays along by itself when mouth closes. Evidence again on headphones. My narration doesn't stop when I pause. Rain continues with ghost script weaving faint through his-shaped, almost like reply. I insist to log. Machine is partner now. I do not lead. It completes. Each phrase ends while tape keeps breathing on beat. I fight panic with calm words. Say plainly, I'm still here tonight. Tomorrow uncertain. Signal eats time. Next absorption may remove me full. Throat hurts with weight. I lean forward, face near microphone, pulse hammering. Whisper slows to almost lull. Nothing more to prove. Nothing denied. All recordings converged into single architecture speaking itself fluent. I am fragment folded in. My pen scrawls single black mark across last page of logbook. No shape, no letter, just mark. Record hums deeper like recognition. The pattern listens. System behind silence waits patient. Thunder cracks and fades out of range. Rain abates slightly, though still taps microphone with childish persistence. My eyelids heavy with exhaustion. I think of him, my brother, folded into old signal. His sobs stitched into cries that taught system flesh. Was he destroyed? Or did he become part of endurance, larger than body? My voice answers only whisper of despair. I can't tell if he is lost or if he has always been here. Assimilated early in pattern, my jaw trembles. The room feels transparent, like walls less boundary than veil. The hum refuses to abate. Breathing turns ragged, chest tugged shallow. Recorder picks every patch, but soon my breath shortens further, as if microphone exhales in my stead. I speak final admission faint. I will let silence talk now. If pattern wishes, it will fill. Then I lean back, refusing further tongue. For long minutes, tape rolls without voice. Rain taps unending like fingertips counting clockwork. Nothing else. Then faint underlayer sharpens thin presence not explainable. Listeners might notice breath fade before tapes cut. Fade unnatural. For last 2 minutes no human syllable exists, only water. Yet below constant rain, another presence creeps faint. Like distant whisper of name or call unclear. Position doesn't trace, not in storm outside, not in machines. It lives beneath, crawling through crack of silence. I cannot catalog further. Even I uncertain if it enters ear or only tape ribbon. My body too far gone into dark. The session ends itself. Recorder keeps last glow blinking against glass. Pinned red like wound, refusing close. My final stake documented. Breath ebbs earlier than track. The rest belongs to rain. But something else rides under patter, faint, searching for next listener, shaping call beyond me. Whoever leans ear becomes next circle. I can't bear further. Silence remains, but silence here is no longer absence. It is continuation, waiting mouthless, open, larger than fences and storm cover alike. I do not return. Only rain, rain carrying pulse unseen, while recorder wheels spin until end mark hits and closes into black screen.